And it's Lancaster Woodturners Coffee Hour, number 209, I think. I'm not
Yep.
sure. Yeah, and it's 4th of July, so happy patriotic holiday, all y'all Americans. And I'll also notice that in Canada, it was happy patriotic holiday on July 1st, and in England, it's the day to vote. So, I mean, I don't know about Germany. Kai, is this a holiday in Germany too, or around here? Thought I saw Kai on here.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hi. No, it's not a holiday in Germany. It's just normal work day.
No, I mean around this time of year, is there a national holiday or an important day?
No, no, there isn't.
No. Okay. So you're good. Let's see. It's a good crowd here. I'm happy to see you on the 4th of July. And I see there's some hands up. I'm going to take the liberty of, well, first of all, a little club news. The club picnic was last week, and I saw some beautiful pictures of the Frisbee toss. I think Mike Kuterbach won the Frisbee toss, not with the farthest Frisbee, but with the one that flew most elegantly. And somebody finally figured out that rather than throwing the Frisbees horizontally, if you turned them vertically and flung them like they were a hubcap coming off an old Buick, they would go a long, long way. So, and the next club event is not this Saturday, but the following. I'm not sure if I've lost track of the dates. This is the 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, 13th. 13th, I think, is open shop in New Holland. That'll be 9 to noon. I see a coming new member on screen here, David Lewis. Hello, David. Nice to see you. David sent, I think you probably learned about us at the Amtrak display. And my address is still on the website, so I got several. When I got home from being away for 5 weeks, I found several club applications in the mail, and I got them over to Barry yesterday and put the email addresses of those guys into the queue for this coffee hour because we do this every week. And so I'm glad to see you, David. And welcome aboard. I'm going to do a slideshow, and I'm going to have to kill my background. Is everybody okay with that? Anybody? All right. This is just a short introduction to the kind of countryside I was in. This is a bark Sasquatch outside a convenience store in Souk, British Columbia, on Vancouver Island, on the west coast of Vancouver Island. And I just put it here as an intro to the slideshow. And this is me and my traveling companion near the start of our trip at the Red Sox game at Fenway Park. So the gentleman I'm with, his name is Ron. We were housemates in college, so we've been friends for almost 60 years. So I traveled across the country with this dude. He's a demon driver. He likes to drive. He puts the cruise control at 75, and he gets very aggressive if anybody's going slower. So I had to get him to get out of the tunnel vision of driving. And hey, let's pull over here and have a look at this. Let's take this side road. But he was amenable to all of that. So we had a good trip together. And after spending 3 weeks together, we remained friends. So that was a good stroke, I think. He's 80. I'm 78. So you can geezers on the road. That's what we got. That's what we were. And the Red Sox at Fenway Park, as you can see, we're having a hell of a good time. It was the Red Sox won that night, so it was a good show. We also went to Plymouth. This is the sailboat that's at Plymouth Rock. I'm just going to show you some woodworking type artifacts mostly, and some of the things that were important to me on this trip. I'm going nowhere near. I have about 3,000 images. I was wearing my trick glasses as well as carrying a good camera. So I was in Owen Sound at the Stephen Hogman's gallery, Intersections Gallery. Was a very nice yarn bowl I saw there. I thought that was a particularly elegant solution. And the two holes beside the yarn slot there are, of course, for sticking your big fat needles in there, so they have a place to be. I thought this was a really good yarn bowl. And here are some beautiful little turned boxes that were sitting on a shelf. This one with the offset lid struck me as particularly elegant. They were beautifully fitted and just really, really nicely done. I don't know the name of the artist. They told me it was a young guy who had just begun to turning, and he was in his first couple of years of turning. And boy, whoever he is, he's already a very good turner. I hope he stays with it and becomes great. This is me at the Ginger Press bookstore in Owen Sound. Ginger Press is operated by Marianne Hogman, Stephen's late ex-wife. And that's the throne for Uber Roy, which was turned on the famous truck axle lathe back in about 1970. enormous cedar turning, then split in half and made into a throne, among other things. I hadn't seen it in many years, so it was a real treat to take a sit and enjoy this monumental piece of important wood turning in the history of wood turning. Nobody had done anything like this before. And as you can see from the cross sections, Stephen was as interested in the cross section as anything else, and he did an awful lot of work to explore the cross sections of turned forms. This is where I was going. I wanted to get to British Columbia. I wanted to drive across Canada by the northern route and see friends and family, especially in the Edmonton area. But I wanted to finally end up on the northwest coast on British Columbia, in what they call the Salish Sea, the islands in between the mainland and Vancouver Island. I have family in Powell River, and as well as and I wanted to spend time on places on Vancouver Island. This photo was taken at Port Renfrew on the west coast of Vancouver Island, which is a very, very beautiful place. I spent several days there, and some of my slides will be there. And this is the typical kind of landscape. It's a rocky shore, a lot of little tidal pools. The tides are very high, and everything is forest. Even most of it is second growth, and I'll show you some of the remnants of that in a bit. I took a boat trip. These are stellar sea lions on the rocks near Ucluelet, also on the far Pacific coast. The big guy in there is probably 10 or 11 feet long and probably weighs 1,000 pounds. I took a one-man wildlife boat cruise. I just hired a boat in the harbor with a fellow I just met on the dock, and he was very knowledgeable, and we spent the afternoon cruising around looking for, we saw seals, we saw sea otters, we saw a couple of killer whales in the distance breaching from the water. Saw a lot of birds, and we cruised around a lot of rocky islands. These guys were just amazing to see. There were just lots and lots of them. This is what I really came to do, is to spend time in the forest, among the great cedar trees. You know, I'm not very religious, but I do have a kind of a spiritual connection to the woods and trees, and I've read a lot about current thinking about how plants communicate and what their conscious, whether they are conscious, and I believe they are. And I spent a lot of time in the woods just being with these gigantic trees. There's not a lot of old growth left, but there's some that you can get at, and a lot of the second growth, there's still trees that are quite huge. You'll see in some of the slides how big these trees are. This is a cedar tree close up. This is what the bark looks like. I think a slide, yeah, this is a little video in Cathedral Grove in the center of Vancouver Island. This is a grove that's been preserved with careful trails through it. These are cedars and Douglas firs and hemlocks. They're 8, 9, 10 feet in diameter, and who knows how tall they are. This is a typical logging truck. This is a glasses shot through the car window. But I talked to the fellow who was anchoring his chains on the truck there. They log these things to about 42 to 45 feet long. So that's how long the logs on that truck would be. And this is all second growth. And this is all going to be 2x4s. And then the slash is going to go into the digester and become either strand board, particle board, or pulp for paper. I also visiting my cousins in northern Alberta, in Hinton. Some of them work in an enormous mill that processes a lot of timber and also a lot of paper. They used to make finest white paper for books. Now the same mill makes pulp for Amazon boxes. I saw cousin Aaron is on here today. I think Aaron worked at that mill until he retired. So that's the vignette of logging in British Columbia and Alberta. This is a dawn picture shot from my cousin's house in Powell River over Malaspina Strait towards Texada Island. If anybody's familiar with that terrain, I just love this shot, the light and the moon and the sky, and I love where these people live. And my cousin Carrie has been sending me. I didn't see any orcas going by her house, so she's been sending me videos of orcas and dolphins cruising by, which I just really have enjoyed. This is a sunset shot from on the far side of Vancouver Island. I just wanted to show you these as the kind of scenery that you see are in that part of the world every day, and which is why I wanted to spend a big block of time there. When I was at the oyster bar in Fanny Bay, anybody who's an oyster connoisseur will know about Fanny Bay oysters and where they pack them and ship them. There's also a cafe that will serve them to you raw. I had two platters. And I saw this wooden car in the parking lot. It was astonishing. I don't know what wood it was, and I don't know how the guy made it, although I suspect he bent veneers over the existing car frame. But it was beautifully done. The bar is also kind of a biker bar. There are a lot of bikers in there, like older guys with Harleys and long gray beards and ponytails. And I chatted with several of them, but I couldn't find the owner of the car. I wanted to talk to him too. Well, this is a pole outside a lodge in Port Renfrew. This is the style of the indigenous art from that part of the world, which I absolutely love, and I'm going to show you some more of it later. But this one struck me as a particularly nice small pole. The crest, the animals symbolized on here tell family stories and establish lineages and claim ancestral rights and important cultural heritage. I think it's amazing artwork. And when this thing stalls like that, I think it's trying to bring it. There it is. No, this is the beach. This is part of First Nations land near Port Renfrew. This is the Pachidat people. There's an enormous long sandy beach at the end of a sheltered cove where they have lived since time immemorial. The forest behind it there is second growth, but it's huge. The trees are 3-4 feet in diameter. A lot of spruce, a lot of hemlock and cedar. And the beach is littered with these gigantic logs. And you can tell the logs that have come down in storms have roots attached to them versus logs that have escaped from logging booms, which have sawn ends. They retrieve the logs from logging booms. They're worth a lot of money. But the beach is just, this is part of why I wanted to be here, as you'll see in a couple of slides. This is what the beach and the logs look like. Astonishing. You can just see the sculpture inside the wood, or at least I can. And I've spent several days basically walking and sitting on this beach. Just marvelous sculptures come just tossed up there by the winds, by the waves and the winds. The winter storms toss this stuff up above what's normally the high tide line. And the texture of the sun-bleached wood is just absolutely gorgeous to me. Here's the old man walking on the beach. And here's the old man walking in the woods. I'm going to let this one run because it goes to what they call a cultural artifact, which I'll explain in a second when it gets there. This tree here shows the evidence of pre-contact peoples having split planks off the tree. You can see that inside there. Little sign there tells you about it. Gigantic cedar tree, old growth. And when they harvest planks from the tree and leave the tree standing and alive. Amazing forestry techniques. Here's an example of the size of the tree. That's my 32-inch cane. You see trees like this alongside the road. Not only you don't have to go deep in the forest, but this is what it's like deep in the forest. It's absolutely primeval with the undergrowth and the colossal cedars and the second growth around it. And if you just sit quietly, you can hear the deep, silent, slow voices of the trees, and you can hear the birds, and occasionally a raven will come and check you out to see if you have any crackers or peanuts. And there's a looking up at the same tree. There's another old growth cedar standing beside the road. This is in Souk, also on the west coast of BC. Souk is now a suburb of Victoria. I remember Souk when it was a logging town that you had to go over a rutted gravel road to get to. Now it's just a very rich suburb with fabulous houses. I stayed in an Airbnb there, a cottage near the water. It was delightful. This is an old growth stump in the forest with new second growth springing from it. And I wanted to show it both to show the size of the stump, and you can see the notches in there. That's where the old time loggers would plant their springboards that they could stand on, so they could saw that tree down above the bole, above the root flare. The root flare would mean you'd have to saw a little bit longer to fell the puppy. So they would stick their springboards in there and stand up there on a couple of boards and work an old style long, very long two-man saw and axes and fell these things by hand. And they thought the forest would go on forever. Of course, it didn't. And they cut down. I don't, you know, it's hard for me to fathom the thinking of the earlier time. I guess they just saw this as an endless harvest that was there for the taking. Nobody thought about, well, when it's gone, it's gone. It takes 800 years to get it back. So there are places where it never was logged, but they're not usually very large, and there's a lot of pressure even there because the value of the timber in one of these old trees is, well, it's probably not as high anymore as they used to think, because there's a lot of splits and cracks, but it's just amazing. This is some burls. I thought you folks who do burls would like this. This was at Bouchard Gardens near Victoria. I think there's another little video coming up. Nope. This is the entrance to the Museum of Anthropology at the University of British Columbia, which is a center for showing the art of the Pacific Northwest. And this is the main room inside. You can see the scale of the totems that are there against the people who are there. It's a beautiful museum. If you ever get to Vancouver, it's absolutely worth giving it an afternoon. Aside from the enormous displays, the stacks are all in drawers in a dimly lit space where you can go and pull the drawers out and just look at everything they have, thousands and thousands of artifacts. So it's really a place to study. They've also recently redone all the signage, so they take more proper note of the cultural heritage of these people. And they also have reorganized the exhibits, so there's contemporary art alongside the old stuff that they have. So it's really quite a remarkable place to spend time. This is the kind of thing that is typical. That would be I think, a mythical bird on a pole. And this is what people think of when they think of totem poles. But I think of these guys. These are house poles. The one in front we'll see more of. That's a bear. It's a bear figure. I just find the carving, and this is what they did with some of those big old cedar trees. And I just find this carving remarkable in its power and iconography. And all of these things were meant to tell stories, the same as the art we're used to from Europe, from cathedrals. The stained glass windows were meant to tell stories, and these are also meant to tell stories. This is one that this one just particularly impressed me. This is a bear. There's another view of him. And behind you can see some of the iconography of the contemporary art on the walls, and a very nice cedar canoe that I didn't get enough pictures of. There's a beaver, this one guy, as you can see his beaver tail down there below. Now this thing is trying to bring up another video. This is a bear, of course, shot through the car window. All of British Columbia and Alberta is bear country, northern Alberta. You don't walk in the woods very deep without bear spray. And they have very ingenious trash cans that bears can't open, but people can. This is a bentwood box. This is one of the Northwest Coast First Nations art forms that has so long totally impressed me. The body of the box is bent out of a single plank. They would carve into the corners in an ingenious way that allowed them to soak in hot water and then bend a sharp corner, and then the fourth corner would be sewn up with cedar roots. So this was a hand-hewn plank. This box is probably 2 feet tall and 3 or 4 feet across its long side. I don't know what the carving on the face of it represents, but it certainly tells a story of the owner of the box and probably about the importance of the possessions that might have been inside it. This work is still done, as you'll see in a minute. This is a contemporary box by Doug Cranmer, also bent the same way with the deeply carved corners steamed and bent around so the wood is bent without breaking. It's an example of wood technology that is equal to any I've seen anywhere, and I've seen an awful lot of wood technology worldwide. When I did a fine woodworking story about it, a cover story way back when, issue 22, I think, the publishers accused me of going native, of forgetting our mission to focus on fine woodworking that people could understand. But to me, this is among the finest woodworking I've ever seen. Likewise, these masks, contemporary mask alongside an old mask. There's just enormous power in these things and enormously deep culture. This is a contemporary sculpture done in the 70s, designed by Bill Reed and carved by Bill Reed, Doug Cranmer, and a bunch of other people. And it's in a rotunda that they built for it. This is a very important piece. It's Raven and the First Men. It's a monumental sculpture that links the old art forms to contemporary art. It's carved by an artist with a contemporary sensibility and the old traditions. The story is that after the floods receded from the waters, Raven is walking on the beach at Masset, and he discovers a giant clamshell and hears some noise inside. So of course he investigates it and opens it up, and the first men crawl out of the clamshell, and that's how people came to populate the islands. There's a close-up of it. You can hear it in my voice. I absolutely love this sculpture. It's yellow cedar. And here's the old man himself with this bear. Was a pair of bears that were just at the parking lot. We're in First Nations territory along the beach near, I think I'm near Tofino at this point. And that's the end of the slideshow. So let me get back to my regular camera. And I thank you for your indulgence. I'll get my background back. Any comments or questions on that?
John, what's the cedar used for? I'm surprised to hear about so much cedar in that forest.
Canoes, poles, buildings. Today it's used for siding and shingles. Cedar shingles are very expensive, and it's a soft wood. It dents easily, but it's a beautiful wood to work. Long, straight grain pieces. I'm going to remove the spotlight. Anybody else? Questions or comments? Well, thank you for your indulgence in looking at some of my pictures.
Beautiful pictures, Joe.
Thank you. Yeah. Going to go to the slideshow. Mike Peace, what do you got today?
I've been making this little guy. I call him Dusty. It was kind of a fun little whimsical elephant. I'll be doing a video on that soon. And
is that assembled like several turnings glued together?
yeah, it's basically 4 pieces of wood. It's got the body, the head, and then 2 discs for ears. And then there's map pins for the eyes.
Very nice.
Took me a long time to find those map pins hidden in my shop. And one of the things that I noted was interesting when I put this together and was thinking about the video and the wood. This was as a piece of red oak, and thinking about what kind of wood you're going to use for a particular project. If I'd done this out of pear, for example, or cherry, it just wouldn't have had near, I don't think, the interest or attraction that the oak and the grain and the medullary rays add to it that you wouldn't get from just a very plain vanilla. And yet a more complex one like ash or something with a prominent grain probably wouldn't have worked either. Then I've been playing around a little bit with carving using carving as texturing around the rim of a bowl. And that's been kind of fun. It doesn't take very long once you get the knack of it. And I finally figured out how on my Powermatic how to use the index pin to lock the spindle so I can turn it wherever I wanted and lock it with a spindle.
So are you
index.
carving that while it's on the lathe?
Yeah, I am.
So you're locking the spindle, and then you can put your gouge on the tool rest and go like that.
Yeah, well, I rested. Actually, I didn't use the tool rest at all. I just, did normal carving, and I'm using a manual, regular wood carving set, no power carving. And so that's kind of fun. It adds interest, and it's surprising how quickly this goes. I mean, you can do this in literally 5 minutes.
That's beautiful.
Piece of red oak came down from a small tree in my backyard.
You got more?
Nope.
Okay. Comments for Mike?
Hi.
No? Okay. George.
Okay, I bought some olive wood a while back, so I made some boxes. Very simple, straight boxes. They're all more or less the same, with a different little bit of a design on it. No decoration.
The beads are on the lid, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your logic about that? Having them on the lid versus lid and body, or versus on the body? Why are you doing it that way?
No idea. It
Okay.
just happened that way. And the last one is basically the plainest. They have an Osmo finish.
Open that up. And let's see the lid. Let's see how the lid fit is. Okay, so with no hole, I want to see whether is the lid going in or is the lid going over?
Let's go on over.
Over. Okay,
Yeah.
so open it up and show us the inside of the lid. Hold it up to the camera. We're okay. So there's a ledge in there that stops it,
Yeah.
positions it. Yeah. Okay, that's nicely done.
There's some very plain basic boxes. Then I had a little piece left over. And I saw Richard Raffen turning a little cup, so I copied his cup. More or less.
Let's see the inside. Yeah. Very nice. It's olive wood, and where did you get it?
I bought it in Hamilton, I think.
Ah, so it wasn't, yeah. It doesn't have a story behind the wood.
No. It was green actually, but it didn't do anything.
Uh-huh. Okay.
It's really nice to work with. Smells good.
I like the shape of that cup. Could you hold it up for another second for me? Nice. I like that.
Thank you.
It's an interesting design you've got, George, for your overfitting lid because it disguises the wood movement. I don't think I've seen too many people use that approach that you've got where the lid is actually larger than the box, so it disguises any wood movement. Nice.
The wood was green, so I basically, I didn't know if we were going to move or not, so that's why I did an overlap.
Yeah, that's very nice. That's a good way of doing it. It's a simple way, and it works really well.
That's all I have for today.
Okay. Let's see. Toby, Bowman, and Kai. Who wants to go first? Let's go to Kai first. What do you have today, Kai?
Okay. I just wanted to show something small. I showed a photo string, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And Jim suggested to use fishing line instead of the metal string I had used. And I tried that, Jim, so I want to show the photos. Just a second, I will try to share that. Okay, just go back. Yeah, okay. So that's the string. I actually made them to get rid of some of my spheres I had turned, but a floating sphere on a nylon string doesn't look that good, so I decided to turn a little balloon shape to have some weight that pulls the string down. And the photos are fixed with 2 magnets, one from behind and then one from the front. These I didn't cover with little wooden caps. You could do that, of course, or maybe make some little split turnings and turn some little balloons or something that you can use as a cover for the magnets. But I just finished it today, so that
So what
hasn't
are
been
the
done
photos
yet.
mounted? What are the photos mounted on?
It's a nylon string.
No, I know that, but the photo itself, is it just paper or it has a piece of stiff material behind it?
No, it's just the photo as you get it from the shop, printed
Okay.
on photo paper. So that is stiff enough.
And it's one side or two sided? I mean, do you have to back them up so there's a photo on both sides?
Actually, it works with just having one photo, but I found out that at least in the beginning, the string twisted a little bit, so the thing started turning, and you saw the wide back of the photos, and I didn't like that, and I'll show you what I did in a minute. So, that's a photo of the balloon, and so then I thought, okay, you can use 2 photos and sandwich the string in between them. And so I
Yeah,
put a magnet on both sides. And when you kind of turn the balloon a little bit, the whole thing starts moving. So that is, yeah, a
nice.
manual picture display that doesn't need an iPad or something like that. So it will change photos.
Nice idea.
Yeah. Okay. So that was for Jim, who gave me the idea to use the the nylon string fishing line instead of the metal one I used before. Okay. Thank you. That's it.
That's it? I
Yeah.
was expecting a long show from you.
Now, Kai, do the photos rotate much, like in the breeze from your heating system in your house? Is there much motion, or do they stay pretty stable?
Well, when I put it onto the ceiling, or when I hooked it up, it started turning because I guess the nylon string was twisted a little bit. But then after 10 minutes or so, it stopped moving and it stayed in one position. And then you can go and take the balloon and give it a little bit of a twist, and then the whole thing will start moving. So, and where it is at the moment, there isn't a draft or anything that makes it move automatically. I guess if you put it next to the heating, which is not working because we are summer at the moment, but yeah, or next to a window where it's hot from behind. I don't know. Maybe it starts moving a little bit, but I haven't got that experience yet. I just finished it today.
You could
Thank
use
you.
use a little computer fan or something, to give it motion, maybe, or just some fancy magnet trick.
Yeah, you could do. Yeah. So floating photos
Okay.
floating in the air. And I also tried another approach. This one had 2 photos, the string sandwiched between 2 photos and a magnet on each side. It also works with just 1 magnet and then a little washer on the other side. And if you only have 1 photo and place the whole thing near a wall so it doesn't turn freely, that should work as well, and you save some magnets. But these little magnets are not really expensive nowadays. So yeah,
Okay.
it works both ways.
Very nice. Very nice. Any more from you today?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, Toby. What do you got?
There you go. A couple of weeks ago, Jim asked me if I had any pictures of my wood stash, so I
Oh.
can share a screen here and show those. There we go.
We
Got
don't have
that?
we don't have it yet. We just got you frozen solid. You're frozen. Can you speak and see if we can hear you? No. I'm going to go to Bowman and you can fool around with your setup and see if we can get you back. But right now you're locked. You might have to go out and come back in. Bowman.
Hey, I have another suggestion for Kai. Wouldn't it be fun if you knew where the nails in your drywall were and you just took a magnet and would stick photos to the wall just by having the magnet grab the nail head? Just a crazy idea. I think too many of them. So,
That'd
but
work.
of course you'd have to be there and make sure they put them in at the right spot. So, hey, last week I suggested and got some pushback, but I got some good help. Let me start sharing because this will be the best way to do it. Yes.
Sound off.
Okay.
Toby's back, so we'll go to him after you.
Hey, well, you want to do Toby now?
No, go, yeah. I'm not going to let you have a whole 20 minutes here.
Oh, really? No, I know. That's what I'm worried about. Hey, first question I have for you is, does anybody help identify this wood?
Definitely from a tree.
Oh, funny. And it has some bark on it. A friend up in northern Pennsylvania I spent a weekend with has a beautiful wooded area. And I saw these crotches, not crotches, but bent branches. And I said, what do you think that is? He said, I think it's river birch. I never heard of river birch. Anybody else know that?
Yeah, I have river birch in my yard, but it's not that big. Yeah.
Well, this was from a big tree where he pushed back to make a pond. But so I had him cut two big chunks with the idea of spinning them. And this is where this story starts.
Oh, yikes.
I sanded the flat side on it, on the what I call the bottom side, glued it on the waste block with CA glue. And one of you guys, or a couple of you guys, said that's crazy, but at least put some hot glue along the edges. And so I surrounded this with good thick hot glue all the way around. And the story is it never flew off. Here it is.
Were you turning slowly, and how did you keep from? I mean, you're sticking your hand into an airplane propeller. Are you insane or what?
And it sounds like that too. Don told me, I'll start at 350. That was just too blunt, slow. So I started at 500 and I said, ooh, this works. Then I went up to 750, ended up at 1,000. And I thought we were ready for takeoff. I mean, it literally whirred. And boy, all it was a blur. And I stuck my chisel in very, very carefully. And nothing happened. And I checked every now and then, and there was no indication of separation. So I kept turning. This is what the profile actually looks like. This is my trial one. I have another one that has more ends on it that are turned up, but this is the real profile. This is more of a top view. And my dear wife, her reaction is, oh, another piece to sit on the shelf and collect dust. What are you going to do with it? I said, I don't know. It was a challenge to turn. That's what I want to do, but I'll show you what I did with it. I said, oh, put a little tea light in the top. And maybe if you're adventurous and put some little pieces in each of the gullies, you know, down in here. But it was mostly a challenge. I finished it with Mahoney's walnut oil, one of my favorite things. So that was that. A quick run by the way, guys, I finally put a stop paddle, emergency stop paddle on my DVR, my XP, my Nova. The one thing about it, I don't know you guys who have built-in ones, it does not, it turns the power off, but the lathe still coasts, and maybe that's what happens all of it. I don't have the brake setting on because I don't like it using braking because it can potentially turn a piece right off the mount. But I just wanted to show you that. Here's the real fun one though. I had some of the leftover, and I think it was Carl, was it you that talked? Somebody talked to me about making weed pots, and I discovered in research that that's the UK version for what we call bud vases. I got a little whimsical with the 3 I turned from the end of a neighbor's porch post that I've been playing with. Here's a grouping home. They had some of the where I pulled nails out and stuff on one side, and some of them were plain sided. I finished them with Mahoney's oil. Here they are, the more plain side, the wooded side with the natural and a little bit of the paint, even the green paint on this one that was part of the porch post. And
these are really nice.
I like them. Thank you, John. I like them. By the way, I can never stay away from putting dye on something. I keep trying to match Toby's stuff, and I'm still a long way to go. But I put green in the bottom of this one, orange on the top. Artesian.
Made me laugh. You know, a couple of months ago, I bought the primary colors in the dye, the same kind of dye, the Transtint dyes.
Right.
I haven't even had the nerve to open the bottles.
I prefer the artesian ones. This one, I decided to take it on the router and round off the bottom edge and paint it black just for the fun of it. So that's it of that. So John, let's hear what Toby got to say. Guys, I did shoot a video because if it was going to fly off, I wanted it. But I only finished this last night, and the video is going to take me a day to go through because there's 2 cameras and all that kind of stuff. It was fun getting back to the lathe. So.
Let's kill your share.
Yep. You got it? Okay, thank you.
I'm going to pull your spotlight. And before we go to Toby again, I'm going to go to Bert, because Bert's sitting here with his hand up. What do you got, Bert?
Okay, I guess yesterday one of our club members wanted to
just
learn
a
how to
minute
make
here.
some.
Hang on a second here. Bert is usually in his basement. He's in his shop now. So let's go back to the view of your shop.
Okay,
This is what happens when you don't throw wood away.
Yeah, and then I've got there's another view. You can see my bandsaw and a bunch of my other second lathe in the corner. The second lathe is part of the story today. One of our wood turners at the last club meeting, I gave away a bunch of blocks or blanks to make birdhouses. And one of the ladies that grabbed one said that she didn't know how to make a birdhouse, didn't know how to start. So she came over and yesterday, and I turned the birdhouse on my lathe, and then she went over to this little lathe and turned herself a little birdhouse. And I had these setting up as examples and told her that when you're making a bird, you got to make your own birds as well. And so we had a lot of fun. They didn't take very long, couple hours, and she went home with a miniature birdhouse. And thanks to Mike Peace for the inspiration for making the little birds, because they're not made of paper, they don't fall off, and it's just a fun project. That's all I had.
I like your stands too.
Yeah, those were Ashley Harworth inspirations. I changed the design a little bit. I went a little steeper angle, and I've got a bigger hole in the center so I can put a heavier weight in. And this is one of the originals, and it flops around. If it bumps, it'll flop around. These ones here, they don't flop around. There's about 100 grams inside this wood, and it makes it really nice and solid.
That'd be about 4 ounces.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Now you turn those as a cone and then cut them at an angle. Is that right?
Yeah, I start with a block of wood like this. This is just glued up flooring, and I turn a cone, and then I go to my bandsaw and cut it on an angle. I've got the bandsaw jig for holding the chuck, and I cut it at a 20-degree angle to get a nice profile for it. And this is a piece of copper, number 12 copper, twisted it with a drill, and then bend it around a little form to kind of get the shape right. And yeah, they're quick and easy, and they're fun.
Do you take it as your mission in life to turn all the wood you can find?
Well, I can't. For some reason, I just can't let a piece of wood go into a fire pit unless I try it. My
Well-
neighbor gave me a whole pile of Kumara. We can't get it in Canada anymore, and it's the second hardest wood on the wood scale. And so I've got a whole bunch of pieces like this. This is the flooring, and I run it through the bandsaw and cut the nails out. And these are going to be bases for these this kind of a stand. So I turn the
once-
cone, and then I turn the base is a little
once
piece of
once you decide that you're going to be the savior of flooring scraps, there's no limit to how much is available, I would think. I mean, the world is full of flooring scraps.
You're absolutely right. And I only keep the flooring scraps of real exotic wood where I cut the nails out, because my flooring people that live right around me, they've got two of them, they're contractors. Periodically, they'll get a box full of whatever exotic wood, and they'll have a 10% left over from a project. And one project they did was 10,000 square feet in a commercial building, and they had 10% left over. And I've been able to share that out with a few club members, and I still have 2 boxes of it stuck in a corner.
Bet you do.
It's yeah, well, you've probably seen it. There was some of it standing up in the corners when
Sure.
you were here.
Yeah. Well, your shop is a 2-car garage, is that right?
Yeah, it's 24 by 24, and it's never seen a vehicle.
It's, it's never going to either. I mean, when you're gone, they're going to have to burn it.
That's right. Well, I have to make damn sure I don't have any open flames in here, because if it did, it would be gone immediately. Anyway, that's all I had.
Okay.
Bert, you need to find a wood kiln firing that potters do. You'll get rid of some of your wood that way.
Good point. That's a good point.
Before we go on, I want to also acknowledge Craig Köthe. Is that how you say your name, Craig? You're muted. Yes. Is that right? Köthe or Court? Cordy, okay. Craig and David Lewis, and anybody else who's new here this morning? If you are, put your hand up. And Ray, what's your last name, Ray? You're muted also. You got to turn your mic on. I don't know how you do that on an iPad. We still can't hear you. Okay, well, these 3 guys, I think, saw our Amtrak display and mailed in forms to join the club, which sat in my unopened mail while I was away for 5 weeks. But I got their information over to Barry last night and put them on the coffee hour list. So I'm glad to see you all here. And this is what we do this every Thursday morning. We usually get anywhere between, well, we got 40 on screen this morning. We usually get about 40 or 45 people. Most of them are Lancaster Club members, but some aren't, and we don't care. We figure it's entertainment. So whoever shows up is going to entertain the rest of us. And this forum has been going for 4 years on Thursday mornings. We've done it more than 200 times. So we're glad to see you. You're welcome here every Thursday. And if you've got wood turning friends, you're free to pass the link along to them. It's the same link every week. So all you have to do is find any of the emails. I send an invitation every week, and I know it goes into the junk folder for a lot of people. But all you got to do is find that link once, and you can join us any Thursday morning, 10 to 11. We are always here, and we start on time and we end on time. So, and you're welcome to bring work to show. We love to see work. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot here this morning, but anybody who shows up on screen here is welcome to. If you put your hand up, I'm going to call on you, and you can show us anything you've made or you want to make, or ask a question or make a speech, whatever you want to do. If you want to talk politics, I'll cut you off. But if you want to talk wood, you're good. Don Savab. I'm going to save Toby for last.
Had to turn the mic on. I'll have to apologize up front in case my internet.
Yeah, you're kind of blurry and fuzzy.
Okay, well, sorry, I can't do much about that at the moment.
Yeah, I'm afraid we're not.
This is a little piece that
We're not seeing it.
Sorry, John, what did you say?
Oh, there you are. Okay. That's a terrific piece, but we're only barely seeing it because your connection is pretty crappy.
I'll have to apologize for my internet connection. I may drop out. This one's 30 inches in diameter, and it's a pine tree root.
So you turned that like an airplane propeller also, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I started between centers with Elio drive, and once I got the bottom flat, I mounted a faceplate on it, and then I could chuck mount it and start on the inside.
Wow, that's the same crazy vein of work that Bowman's going down. I'll be surprised one of you guys doesn't lose an arm in there one time.
Don't say that, John. My wife works.
I've done this kind of work too.
The big secret is you learn where your tool is and your tool rest, and you don't go more than a quarter inch off of it at a time. Every time you move the tool a little bit for more of a cut, you don't move your arms. You know where your arms are all the time.
And you don't.
And then when you get a little bit tired or stressed, you stop and take a 3-minute break.
And you don't ever move the tool rest while the work is turning.
No, that's definitely true. Yeah, you learn some of the basics. Any questions?
Enormously impressive work. I'm really glad to see it. I'm amazed, Don. Questions for Don?
Turn that outboard.
Don, you turning it?
I have the new Rikon, and I turned it between centers.
A new Rikon has a gap bed, does it not? So you can.
Yes, it does. I needed the gap in order to get the diameter for the root ball.
What's the maximum diameter
So
of that?
I had it all the way back. 31 inches.
Wow.
It'll turn 31 inches.
The thing that I found on my turning that protected me, I'll put it that way, is mine was only like 16 inches spinning, and so I could have my biggest tool rest so that it covered the end of my propeller. So I kind of knew when you go around it or anything, stay within the outside of the tool rest. But you couldn't do that with a 30-inch spinner, man. Woo-hoo.
Amazing.
One thing I've tried back in the day when we had strobes that would fire a xenon bulb, you can strobe that, and nowadays you can do that with an LED. It's really quite simple. You just trigger off of the shaft that's turning it with any number of triggers, a magnetic pickup or optical pickup, whatever. But that way you can stop the motion. You can have 3 images if you like. You can have 5 images if you like. There's one thing that has to be very, very cautious about. Some people are susceptible to, oh gosh, what is it? There's seizures.
Yes.
And I think the seizures are around 30 to 50 hertz, somewhere in that very slow but repeatable area. You got to be very careful about that. But if you strobe it, or if you know anything about the use of a strobe, like your timing light on a car, it'll stop the action. You can see it. It's just like it's a ghost image. It's not as crisp and clear as if it were standing still, but you clearly know where your tool is and where the wood is. And that's for all you propeller people. Thanks.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've heard that about before. I'm going to try that. That's one of the next things I want to do. Before I go to Toby for the last couple of minutes, I also want to mention that our old friend Bruce Lamb, people were asking, where's Bruce? He hasn't been seen on here for a while. And is he okay? I got in touch with Bruce. He's perfectly okay. He took up going to the gym in the morning. And some morning soon, he said he'll not go to the gym and show up here again just to say hi and show us his current work. So that's just a news note. Okay, Toby, let's try it again.
Okay. I don't know what you heard earlier before my internet dropped out. But Jim asked me to take some pictures of my
stash.
Now, my wood stash. Oh, here we go. So this is my wood shed. Are you seeing this?
We're not there yet.
Not yet.
There we go.
There.
Okay. So this is my wood shed that I built purposely just for storing my.
And how big is that?
It's 15 by 30, I believe.
Whoa.
So down here in front, I have some 2-foot gum that I have a piece of tarp over it that I'm hoping that's going to spalt nicely. We'll see after a while. Here's the door open. So you see it's full already. This is a couple pieces of burl right here in the front. I think I have a close up here. Maple. This is chestnut oak, and this is piece of cherry down here.
For you guys who are new here, Toby turns full time and is a burl and colored dye specialist. So, yeah.
Oops, wrong way. So back here on the left-hand side is my pile of maple burl. It's stacked up there, all different. I didn't cut this wood. Somebody else cut it, and I got it from them. So that's why it's weird sizes like that. This is my cherry burl bin. There's probably 15 to 20, maybe 25 cherry burls in there. They're average 8 to 12 inches in diameter, I guess. A little close up. This is towards the middle of the shed again, because I couldn't. These are just cherry burl pieces here. This is some box elder burl. I have some black locust back there you can't see. Another view of it. And here's a piece of dawn redwood here. And this is a piece of maple that was really strange looking.
Wow.
Just burls all over the thing. It's only about 6 to 8 inches in diameter.
What are you going to do with that?
I haven't figured it out. That's why it's sitting there. Along with my other branches here that I make Christmas trees and mushrooms out of.
Now, you don't worry about this stuff drying out and checking.
In the enclosed building here, it dries real slow, and it doesn't really do much terrible checking. It does a little bit, but it'll last quite a long time here, and it'll dry without deteriorating too badly.
And do you figure you're ahead on your wood for your rest of your life, or are you still acquiring?
I'm still acquiring, but I'm definitely ahead, yes. It's hard to turn down. These are elm burl here. And back in the corners, more box elder. Some of these pieces back in here, I got a whole tree one time, and this was probably 8 years ago. And I still have a bunch of it sitting there. I just haven't gotten to. Eventually I will. These are some other oddball pieces up to here. And this is when I was doing shows, these are my tent.
Your booths, yeah.
Shelving. Yeah, the lights are here. And this is inside my shop. This is my old Jet 1642, which I have to sell because I just got a Powermatic 30, whatever it is, 3420B, 30, whatever it is. A couple cherry burls laying there and some other maple burl. And you see my shop is nice and neat.
Yeah, you and Bert.
Yeah. This is a piece of elm burl here.
I'm going to let you go a couple more slides if you have them, and I'm going to pull the plug because it is 11.
Any problems with powder post beetle?
Yeah, they do get in there. Sometimes I fume it every once in a while, but it's still a problem in the shed, not here in the shop. Here's a piece of elm burr also. I thought it was really neat. It looks
Wow.
like a piece of coral.
That's amazing.
I'll just run through these quickly and I'll quit. This is one of my latest pieces. This is maple burl. That dyed green, and the interesting part is the top of it here. It's a hollow form.
I'm going to invite you to show the work another week because people are clicking off, and you know, you'll be back, and we gotta have a slideshow next week.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got lots of stuff. Okay, thanks.
Let's do that rather than trying to jam it through here in the last couple over time, because part of the process here is we eat 1 hour of your week and then we let you go. So thank you all for showing up again today, and especially on the 4th of July. Happy patriotic holiday to all you Americans, and we'll see you all next week.
Yep. See you in an hour's time, Bert.
Yeah, we'll see you in an
Happy
hour,
holiday,
Don.
everyone.
See you in an hour.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you,
bye,
John.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye for now.
I enjoy hearing everybody's voice at the end. That's just kind of a neat come alive moment. You know, everybody has a voice. So
You get it all at once, Jim.
that's right. You get it all at once.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.